In order to create some interesting things with physics in Unity, you're probably going to want to use joints. To illustrate this, we're going to make a wrecking ball. The first thing you'll need is to bring in a sphere. So go to Game Object, Create Other, Sphere. All elements in this need to have a rigid body, so Component, Physics, Rigid Body. I'm going to rename that sphere Ball. Then we want a stem to hold the ball onto the chain, so go to Game Object, Create Other, and Cylinder. I'm going to resize that 0.15, 0.25, and 0.15. And then I'm going to bring that up so that it's sitting just dug into the top of the ball, and also give that object a rigid body. To join those two things together, select the ball and go to Component, Physics, Fixed Joint. And in the component for Fixed Joint, drag on the cylinder. So I'm just going to rename that, I'll call that ball stem. So ball stem is the attached body to that, and if I press play, they stay together. Okay, so those two items are joined together. Then we need to make the chain. So all I'm going to do is go to Game Object, Create Other, this time bring in a capsule, and I'm going to resize the capsule exactly the same as the cylinder, 0.15, 0.25 and 0.15. I'm going to bring that up so that the top of it is just touching the end of the ball stem. Then I'm going to add a rigid body again so that it works with the physics engine, and this time I'm going to attach a hinge joint to the stem. So previously we created a fixed joint to go onto the ball and attach it to the stem. Now we're selecting the ball stem and adding component physics hinge joint, and now the connected body is this first capsule. I'm just going to rename that first capsule chain 1, reselect the ball stem, and then drag chain 1 onto the connected body of the hinge joint. You can see this as illustrated by the orange arrow at the top here. So where those two meet, that orange arrow is where that hinge is going to happen. So we can add in another chain link. I'm going to select chain 1 and use Command and D, or Control and D if you're on PC, to duplicate it and make another one. I'm going to rename it chain 2. Remember, when you duplicate, it makes it in the same position, so you've just got to move it out of position. Then I'm going to reselect chain 1, go to Component, Physics, and Hinge Joint again, and this time drag chain 2 as the connected body. So you can now see I've got another orange arrow at that point. Finally, I'm going to do that one more time, so I'm selecting chain 2, I'm going to duplicate it, pull it up so that they're just overlapping, and then go back. I'm just going to rename that third part chain 3, and then go back to chain 2, go to Component, Physics, and Hinge Joint one last time, and then drag on chain 3. And finally, we'll place the last hinge joint onto chain 3. We're not going to connect anything to it, we're just going to leave that with a hinge joint on it, so that's just connected to that point in the world. And to test if it works, we're going to select all of the items involved, so we're leaving the floor, camera and the lighting, and then I'm just going to use the rotate tool to twist it round and to give it some momentum. So if I press play now, you can see it swings and it looks fairly like a pendulum.